If you're watching this video right now, I want you to pause for 1 second and ask yourself, how many times have you avoided speaking English because you were scared of getting it wrong? Today, that fear ends. Most English learners never realize this. Fluency isn't about memorizing 1,000 grammar rules. It's about confidence, rhythm, and the courage to open your mouth and speak, even when it's not perfect. This lesson can change the way you speak English forever. Because today, we're not just learning words. We're learning how real people ask and answer questions in everyday conversations. The kind you actually use at work, with friends, at the airport, or meeting someone new. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The biggest mistake isn't your grammar. It's the silence. It's the pause before you speak, filled with self-doubt, telling you that you're not ready yet. But you are ready. You've been ready. You just needed the right practice, in the right way, with the right guidance. This is day 9 of our 21-day English shadowing challenge, and by now, you've already proven something powerful to yourself. You show up, you practice, and you don't give up. That alone makes you different from most people who only dream about speaking fluent English. Today, you're going to discover how simple, everyday questions and answers can completely transform your speaking confidence. No complicated vocabulary, no overwhelming grammar lessons. Just real conversation, real rhythm, and real progress, one shadowing session at a time. By the end of this video, you won't just understand these questions and answers. You'll feel them. You'll hear yourself speaking a little smoother, a little braver, a little more like the confident English speaker you're becoming. So take a breath, sit up a little straighter, and let's begin. Because your voice deserves to be heard, clearly and confidently. Let's start with the very first step to natural conversation, learning how to ask questions the way native speakers really do. Let's talk about something that might surprise you. Most English learners spend years studying grammar rules, but they still freeze the moment they need to ask a simple question. Why does this happen? Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that questions had to be perfect before you could say them out loud. Today, we're going to break that belief completely. Here's the truth. Native speakers don't think about grammar rules when they ask questions. They don't pause to remember do versus does, or worry about word order in their heads before speaking. They just ask, naturally, smoothly, like breathing. And that's exactly what you're going to learn to do today. Let's start with the most common, everyday questions people actually use in real conversations. Not textbook questions, but the ones you'll hear at a coffee shop, in a job interview, or when you're meeting someone new. How are you doing today? What do you do for a living? Where are you from? What have you been up to lately? Do you have any plans for the weekend? Notice something important here. These questions are short. They're simple. They don't need fancy vocabulary or complicated structures. And that's the first secret to speaking confidently. Simple English, spoken smoothly, is far more powerful than complicated English spoken hesitantly. Now, let's talk about rhythm, because this is where most learners go wrong. It's not enough to know the words. You need to say them with the right flow, the right stress, and the right natural pauses. Listen to how a native speaker says, "So, what do you do?" Notice how it flows together, almost like one connected sound. So hadiado? That's called linking. And it's one of the biggest reasons learners sound stiff, even when their grammar is correct. Here's your first practice technique. Shadow the question, not just the words. That means listening closely to the rhythm, the rise and fall of the voice, and the natural speed, then repeating it exactly the same way, again and again, until it feels automatic. Not memorized, automatic. There's a difference. Memorized English lives in your brain. Automatic English lives in your mouth, ready to come out the moment you need it. Let's practice one together, right now. Repeat after me, slowly at first. Where are you from? Now say it a little faster, more naturally. Where are you from? Notice how native speakers often shorten and blend words in casual conversation. This isn't incorrect English. It's natural, spoken English. And once you start noticing these patterns, you'll start hearing them everywhere. In movies, lows, in podcasts, in everyday conversations. Here's something else that will boost your confidence instantly. You don't need to invent new questions every time. Native speakers reuse the same simple question patterns constantly. Once you master a small set of these question patterns, you can literally start hundreds of different conversations. That's the power of pattern-based learning. You're not memorizing endless vocabulary, you're mastering a formula you can use again and again. So today, your goal isn't to learn 10 new questions. Your goal is to master 5 or 6 simple ones until they feel like they belong to you. Until they come out of your mouth without you even thinking about grammar. That's what real fluency feels like. Not perfection, but ease. And here's something worth remembering. Every confident English speaker you've ever admired started exactly where you are right now. They once stumbled over these same simple questions. They once felt nervous asking, "What do you do?" for the first time. The only difference between them and you is repetition. The willingness to practice a little, every single day, exactly like you're doing right now with this challenge. So the next time you feel nervous about starting a conversation in English, remember this. You don't need complicated words to sound confident. You need clear, simple questions, spoken with calm and natural rhythm. That's not just good English. That's real, human connection. Now that you know how to ask questions like a confident native speaker, it's time to move to the next step. Because knowing how to ask is only half the conversation. Let's talk about how to answer just as naturally, so you're never left searching for words again. Here's something nobody tells you when you start learning English. Asking a question is actually the easy part. The real test of your fluency comes the moment someone asks you something back. Because when you have only a second or two to respond, and your brain either freezes or flows. Today, we're making sure it flows. Let's be honest for a moment. How many times has someone asked you a simple question in English, and instead of answering naturally, you translated it in your head first? You searched for the correct grammar. You tried to build a perfect sentence before you dared to speak it. And by the time you were ready, the conversation had already moved on. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something important. This isn't a sign that your English is bad. It's a sign that you've never been taught how natural answers actually work. Here's the secret. Native speakers don't answer with long, complete sentences most of the time. They answer with short, natural chunks of language. Real conversations are quick, relaxed, and comfortable. Nobody is grading your grammar in a coffee shop or at a family dinner. What matters is that your answer sounds natural and true to how people actually speak. Let's look at some real examples. If someone asks, "How are you doing today?" a native speaker rarely says, "I am doing very well today. Thank you for asking." Instead, you'll hear something like, "Pretty good, thanks. You? Not bad, just a bit tired. Honestly? Great day so far." Notice the pattern. Short, honest, natural. No pressure to sound like a textbook, just real human connection. Now, let's go a little deeper into something that will completely change the way you answer questions. The power of extending your answer with just one extra sentence. This is a small technique, but it makes a massive difference in how confident and natural you sound. Instead of stopping at, "Good, thanks," you gently add one more piece of information. "Good, thanks. I just got back from a walk. Pretty good. A little busy with work today." This one extra sentence does two powerful things. First, it makes the conversation feel alive instead of like an interrogation. Second, it gives the other person something to respond to, which keeps the conversation naturally flowing instead of dying after one exchange. Let's practice this together. I'll ask a question, and I want you to answer out loud. Not in your head, out loud, using a short, natural answer, plus one extra detail. What do you do for a living? Try something like, "I work in marketing. I actually just started a new project this week." See how natural that sounds? You're not reciting grammar rules. You're having a real conversation. Here's something incredibly important to remember. Hesitation is often more noticeable than small grammar mistakes. If you pause for 5 seconds, trying to build the perfect sentence, that hesitation feels awkward and breaks the natural flow of conversation. But if you answer quickly and naturally, even with a tiny grammar slip, the conversation still feels smooth and confident. Native listeners forgive small mistakes far more easily than long, uncomfortable silences. This is why shadowing is so powerful for this specific skill. When you repeat natural answers out loud, again and again, you're training your mouth and your brain to respond automatically, without translating, without overthinking, without freezing. You're building a library of ready-to-use natural responses that live in your memory, waiting to come out exactly when you need them. So here's your challenge for today. Choose 3 common questions people often ask you about your day, your work, your weekend plans, and prepare short, natural answers, each with one small extra detail. Practice saying them out loud with confidence until they feel automatic. Remember, fluent English isn't about answering with perfect grammar. It's about answering with natural rhythm, real honesty, and calm confidence, exactly the way you're learning to do right now. Now that you know how to answer naturally, let's bring both skills together, because the real magic happens when questions and answers flow back and forth smoothly, just like a real conversation between 2 confident speakers. Let's talk about the moment every English learner fears the most. That split second of silence, when your mind goes blank in the middle of a conversation. Your brain is racing, searching for the right word, and meanwhile, time feels like it's stretching forever. Your heart beats a little faster. You feel embarrassed, and so you either stay quiet or you rush out broken words just to escape the discomfort. Today, we're going to change your entire relationship with that pause. Here's something most learners never realize. That pause isn't your enemy. It's only uncomfortable because your back's stubbier. It's been taught to fear silence instead of learning how to use it. Native speakers pause all the time, constantly actually. The difference is, they've learned how to pause with confidence instead of panic. And that one shift changes everything. Let's understand why this happens in the first place. When you're translating in your head, thinking in your native language first and then converting it into English, your brain needs extra time. That's completely normal. It's not a weakness. It's simply how second language processing works. The problem isn't the pause itself. The problem is what you do during that pause. Most learners freeze, panic, or apologize nervously. Confident speakers, on the other hand, fill that space naturally, and that's the skill we're building today. Here's your first tool, filler phrases. These are small, natural expressions native speakers use constantly to buy themselves thinking time, without sounding hesitant or unsure. Instead of silence, try, "Well, let me think about that for a second." That's a good question, actually. How do I put this? You know, I never thought about it that way before. Notice something powerful here. These phrases don't sound weak. They sound thoughtful. They make you sound like someone who's genuinely considering the question, not someone who's lost for words. This single shift, from silence to soft filler phrases, can completely transform how confident you appear in conversation, even before you say your actual answer. Let's practice one right now. Imagine someone asks you a slightly tricky question. What's the hardest part about learning English? Instead of freezing, try starting with, "Honestly, that's something I think about a lot." Then, continue with your real answer at your own natural pace. See how that small phrase gives you breathing room without breaking the flow of conversation? Now here's the second tool, and this one is just as powerful. Repetition as a bridge. Native speakers often repeat part of the question back, not because they didn't understand it, but because it naturally buys time while sounding completely normal. For example, if someone asks, "Do you enjoy your job?" you might respond, "Do I enjoy my job?" "Yeah, actually, most days I really do." This technique feels incredibly natural in real conversations, and it instantly removes the pressure of needing an instant, perfect answer. Let's talk about something deeper here, though, because this isn't just about phrases. It's about your mindset. Every time you pause and feel that flash of anxiety, I want you to remind yourself of something. Real communication was never about speed. It was always about connection. Native speakers don't judge you for a 2-second pause. They judge you if you seem disconnected or uninterested. So a calm pause, filled with genuine thought, actually makes you look more engaged, not less capable. This is exactly why shadowing helps so much with this specific fear. When you repeatedly practice these filler phrases and repetition techniques out loud, your mouth begins to reach for them automatically, the same way you instinctively say or well in your own native language. You're not adding weakness into your speech. You're adding natural human rhythm. So here's your challenge for today. The next time you feel that nervous pause coming, don't fight it and don't apologize for it. Instead, gently fill it with one of these natural phrases. Take a breath and continue speaking at your own pace. Practice this out loud, again and again, until it becomes instinct rather than effort. Remember this. Confidence isn't the absence of nervousness. It's knowing exactly what to do when that nervousness shows up. And now, you do. Let's move forward, because once you've mastered how to handle pauses gracefully, it's time to bring your speaking rhythm to life completely. By learning how to shadow natural conversation, patterns until they truly feel like your own. Let's talk about the one technique that has quietly transformed more English learners into confident speakers than almost anything else. Shadowing. And yet so many people do it wrong. They think shadowing just means repeating words after a video. But that's not shadowing. That's mimicking without understanding. Today, I want to show you the real pattern behind shadowing. The pattern that actually rewires your mouth, your ears, and your brain to speak English naturally, without translating, without hesitating, without fear. Here's the truth most learners never realize. You don't sound unnatural in English because you don't know enough words. You sound unnatural because your mouth has never physically practiced the rhythm of the true language. Grammar lives in your mind. Fluency lives in your muscles, literally, the muscles of your tongue, lips, and jaw. And the only way to train those muscles is through repetition, out loud, again and again. Exactly like an athlete, training their body for a specific movement. So let's break down the real shadowing pattern, the one that works. Step 1. Listen first, without speaking. Before you say a single word, listen to the sentence or question fully. Notice the rhythm. Notice where the speaker's voice rises and falls. Notice which words are stressed, and which words almost disappear into the background. For example, in the question, what do you do? Notice how, what do you, often blends together quickly, almost like what I, while do at the end gets the clearest emphasis. This is something textbooks rarely teach you, but your ears can learn it instantly through listening. Step 2. Shadow with your eyes closed. This might sound surprising, but closing your eyes while shadowing removes distraction and forces your brain to focus entirely on sound and rhythm, not spelling or grammar structure. Say the sentence exactly as you heard it, matching the speed, the pauses, and the emotional tone, not just the words themselves. Step 3. Exaggerate the rhythm slightly. In the beginning, it actually helps to slightly exaggerate the natural stress and flow of the sentence. If the natural rhythm is, "Where are you from?" try saying it with slightly bigger emotional emphasis. Where are you from? This might feel unnatural at first, but it trains your brain to recognize which parts of a sentence carry meaning and emotion, something crucial for sounding truly fluent, not just grammatically correct. Step 4. Repeat without looking at the text. This step separates real fluency training from simple reading practice. Once you've listened and repeated a few times, try saying the sentence purely from memory and sound, without looking at any written words. This forces your brain to rely on rhythm and natural flow instead of visual memorization, which is exactly how fluent speakers actually process language. Step 5. Apply it to your own life immediately. This is the step most learners skip, and it's the most important one. Once you've shadowed a question like, "What do you do for a living?" immediately create your own real answer and say it out loud, using the same rhythm and pattern you just practiced. This transforms shadowing from a passive repetition exercise into an active, personal conversation skill you actually own. Here's something beautiful about this pattern. It works because it mirrors exactly how you learned your very first language as a child. You didn't study grammar rules before you spoke. You listened, you copied sounds, you repeated them awkwardly at first, and slowly, naturally, fluency emerged through repetition and real-life use. Shadowing simply brings that same natural, powerful process into your English learning journey, no matter your age or your starting point. I want you to remember something important. Fluency isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in small, consistent repetitions, exactly like the ones you're practicing today, on day 9 of this challenge. Every single time you shadow a sentence, you're not just repeating words, you're training your brain to access English more quickly, more naturally, and more confidently the next time you need it. So here's your challenge. Take one question and one answer from today's lesson and shadow it 5 times using this exact pattern. Listen, shadow with eyes closed, exaggerate the rhythm, repeat from memory, then personalize it with your own real answer. This is how real fluency is built, not through memorizing rules, but through training your voice to move the way confident English speakers naturally move. Now that you understand the real power of shadowing, it's time to put everything together, because today's final step is where all of this transforms into real, spoken confidence. Here's something I want you to really sit with for a moment. Everything you've learned today, asking natural questions, giving honest answers, handling pauses with grace, shadowing rhythm like a native speaker, all of it means nothing unless you actually use it. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Right now, today, in this final step. Because knowledge without practice is just information. But practice, even imperfect practice, is transformation. So let's bring everything together with one simple, real conversation. The kind you might have with a coworker, a neighbor, or someone you just met. I want you to imagine you're not watching this video anymore. I want you to imagine you're actually in this conversation. Person A: hey, how's it going? Person B: pretty good, thanks. A little busy today, but can't complain. How about you? Person A: not bad. So, what do you do these days? Person B: I'm actually working in marketing right now. Just started a new project this week, actually. Person A: oh, nice. Do you enjoy it? Person B: honestly? Yeah, most days I really do. It keeps me on my toes. Person A: that's great to hear. Any plans for the weekend? Person B: not much yet. Probably just relaxing. You? Look closely at this dialogue for a second. Notice how short the sentences are. Notice how naturally the answers extend with just one extra detail, exactly like we practiced earlier. Notice the filler phrase, honestly, giving that tiny breathing space before a real answer. Notice how the conversation flows back and forth easily, like a gentle rhythm, not like a grammar test. This is what real spoken English actually sounds like. And now, it's your turn to make it yours. Here's how I want you to practice this dialogue, using everything you've learned today. First, listen to the rhythm of each line, exactly like we discussed in shadowing. Notice where the voice rises, where it softens, where the natural pauses live. Then, shadow each line out loud, matching that same rhythm, not rushing, not overthinking, just repeating the natural flow until it starts to feel familiar in your own mouth. Once you feel comfortable repeating the lines, take it one step further. Play both roles yourself, out loud, switching between person A and person B. This might feel a little unusual at first, but it trains something incredibly valuable: your brain's ability to think in questions and answers simultaneously, which is exactly what real conversations demand. After that, personalize it. Replace marketing with your real job. Replace relaxing with your real weekend plans. Say the entire dialogue again, but this time, make every answer completely true to your own life. This single shift, from practicing someone else's words to speaking your own truth in English, is where real confidence begins to grow roots. I also want you to remember something important about today's lesson as a whole. You didn't just learn phrases today. You learned a mindset shift. You learned that questions don't need to be feared, that answers don't need to be perfect, that pauses aren't weaknesses, and that your voice, even with small mistakes, deserves to be heard. That mindset will serve you far beyond this single lesson. It will serve you in every English conversation you have from this day forward. This is day 9 of your 21-day shadowing challenge, and look at how far you've already come. You're not the same learner who started this journey a few days ago. Every single day, you're building not just vocabulary, but real, spoken confidence, one shadowed sentence at a time. So here's your final challenge for today. Practice today's full dialogue out loud, at least 3 times, personalizing your answers each time. Say it slowly first, then a little faster, then naturally, like you're truly speaking with someone. Feel the rhythm, feel the confidence building in your own voice. And remember, fluency isn't a distant destination you'll reach someday. It's something you're building right now, one small, brave, spoken sentence at a time. Keep showing up. Keep practicing. Your voice, your confident English-speaking voice, is closer than you think. See you tomorrow for day 10.